All right, friends, today we are looking in our M3 booklet, M3, and we are looking on page 63, okay? The activity that we're going to be completing today is called Leftovers, anyone? Here's our directions. Read each of the division problems listed below. Explain what you would do with the leftovers in each problem and list the final answer to each problem. So when we think leftovers, we're thinking about remainders. So in different situations, we would do different things with remainders. And we're going to take a look at some scenarios where the remainders are going to be the same yet used differently in each problem. All right, so first and foremost, once we figure out the division answer for number 1, it's the same answer for 2 to 5. However, it's the leftovers, it's the remainders that we're looking at, because the remainders are what's going to be different depending on the situation. All right, there are 45 people going on a trip to Funtime Amusement Park. They will be traveling in small vans. Each van holds 6 people. How many vans will be needed? Okay, so you need to think about, now I am not a very good drawer, okay, but we got a little van here, okay, and each one holds 6 people. All right, so we want to take the number 6 and we want to divide it into 45. Now, thinking about how we've been doing near facts, we could do it a couple of different ways. We could do 6 times what number plus blank equals 45. 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36, 42, right? That's 7. And then another 7 would make that how much? 48, right? Okay, so we can't do another, actually it would be 49, but we can't do another 7 because that takes us past the 45. So it's going to be 6 times 7 plus 3. So we know that our answer is going to be 7R3. Okay, now when you do it this way, this is kind of the long division way. You're doing it the same way. Okay, you're still thinking along these lines. How many times can 6 go into 4? Well, it can't, right? So then we have to move our finger over and think how many times can it go into 45? We already know it's 7. That 7 is going to go on top of the 5 because it's going into 45, not 4. So 6 times 7 is 42. 5 minus 2 is 3. So either way you do it, whether you do it the long division way or you do it this thinking near facts way, you still end up with the same answers. The answer is going to be 7 with a remainder of 3. But the question is saying how many vans will be needed. So we're talking about people as remainders. So where are we going to put those people? On the top of the van? Well, no, you can't put it on the top of the van, and they can't be strapped to the back of the van. So you're going to need an extra van to accommodate for those remaining 3 people. Even though there's only going to be 3 people in the van, they still need a place to sit. So how many vans will be needed? You're going to need 8 vans. Okay, now we're going to end up with the same answer here, but what we're going to do is going to be a little different based on the remainder. Okay, this the situation with the remainder. So this one here says 6 people are going to share 45 tennis balls equally. Okay, so we know that the answer is going to be 7 remainder of 3 because you're still dealing with 6 people and the number 45. Okay, so if you're still dealing with 6 people and the number 45, then it's still the same thing. It's still 6 times 7 plus 3 equals 45. So it's still going to be 7 with a remainder of 3. But how many tennis balls will each person get? 6 people are going to share them equally. Each person's going to get 7. there's just going to be 3 left over. And in this case, the leftovers are just going to sit there because we're not going to divide the balls into different pieces. We're not going to cut them up. Okay, so each person gets 7 balls. Okay. All right, now, situation number 3. Again, 6 people, 45 cookies. Now, this one is where you're going to notice some difference because this is where fractions are going to come into play. So, now we're talking about food. Unlike vans and balls, food can be split into different pieces. We know that. Like if we have a pie, we can split it into 8 pieces. If we have a pizza, you can split it into 8 pieces, 4 pieces, 2 pieces, however many pieces you want there to be. 6 people are going to share 45 cookies equal. How many cookies will each person get if they want to share every last crumb? Okay, so that right here is telling you that they want you to figure out how you can divide the leftovers into equal parts. So again, we had 6 times 7 plus 3 equals 45. So we know it's 7R3, right? So now, what are we going to do with that remainder? We need to divide the remaining 3 cookies into 6 people. So here we have cookie number 1, cookie number 2, and cookie number 3, because we know that each person is going to have 7 full cookies. So these 3 remaining cookies, we have to divide them equally amongst 6 people. Well, how can we do that? Split this one in half, and this one in half, and this one in half, and we now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So technically, each person is going to get 7 full cookies and 1/2 of another cookie, okay? So how many cookies will each person get? 7 and 1/2 cookies. Now you see how the remainders are used differently, okay? The remainders are used differently. In our first situation, we had to do something with the remaining 3 people, so we had to add an extra van. So we had to round up, okay? In this one, we just left the remainders stay on the side. If they lose a ball, they can substitute the ball that way, but they still only get 7. And here, since we're dealing with food and cookies, we had to partition the 3 cookies into equal parts so that each person gets an equal piece of the cookie so they can share every last crumb. All right, so now that brings us to number 4, okay? Again, 45 books. Now we're talking about books, and they need to be packed into boxes. 6 books can fit in a box. How many full boxes can be packed? Okay, this is sort of like number 1. So I want you to think about how we did number 1, okay, because it's sort of like it, but it's going to be a little bit different. And that's because we're not going to round up because they're asking for full boxes. Okay, they just want to know how many full boxes there can be. So you've got the same problem using your near facts. 6 times 7 plus 3 is equal to 45. So we know it's 7R3. Okay, so if we have 3 books remaining, those 3 books remaining are not going to fit into a full box. So how many full boxes can be packed? 7 full boxes. So in this case, we're not doing anything with the remainders because they want full boxes of books. Okay, they want full boxes of books. All right, so that brings us down to number 5. Okay, number 5, 45 photos need to be put in an album. 6 photos fill each page. How many photos will be left over on a partially filled page? Partially filled. So now we're going back to sort of thinking about the cookies again, okay? 45 photos need to be put 6 photos on each page. So again, 6 times 7 plus 3 is equal to 45. So we have 7R3. How many photos will be left over on a partially filled page? We already know that. 3 photos left over. Okay? Now, that brings us to an end of page 63. Now is the section, and I will hold this up so that everybody can see the full screen of it. If there's anybody that still needed to take, make sure they had everything completed. Now it's your turn. It's the you do part. Flip over to the next page, which is page 64. Page 64 is giving you more situations just like the page before. However, they are changing the number that you have. We figured out together, okay, that the answers for all of this was going to be 7 with a remainder of 3. Keeping in mind that that was going to be, the remainder of 3 was going to be used differently each time with 45 and 6. Now it's your turn, okay? Your turn is showing you, and I want to point out the numbers. Okay, we have 52 in each situation here. You have the number 52. So you're doing the same thing that I just showed you on the page before, except you're figuring out the division here, knowing that this is going to be 52 total. And if we look to see, it looks like I see the number 8 in here. Okay, it looks like the number 8 is in there, and you're going to be using the number 8 all the way through. So you're going to have 52, okay, number 8, and you're going to have to figure out what is your near fact, and then what is your remainder going to be, and how is your remainder going to be used in each of these situations. And we will go over that in just about 5 or 10 minutes. Good luck. Have fun.